Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining this from. I'm so excited today to be speaking at the Women on Stage Global Virtual Conference. The title of this talk is The Journey to a Million Lines of Code because it is a story of a young girl who was very enthusiastic about computers and learning how to use computers and building a career with computers and how she got to this. But before I start talking about everything I'm going to talk about today and the timelines in which all of these things happened, I'm going to quickly introduce myself. Hello again. My name is Adora, and I am a software engineer currently working at the intersection of cloud engineering and developer platforms. I am the founder of Nexa Scale, which is a social enterprise that is currently helping people start and scale their careers. I am a multi published author. I have books on cloud engineering, and they're doing really well. I'm a digital creator as well. I have YouTube videos, courses, and other kinds of digital content that is helping people start, their tech careers, master their lives, and build the kinds of lives and careers that they want. I'm also an ecosystem advocate. Funny stories. Last year, I was introduced to somebody in the US, and the person that introduced me, who is a big tech person in Lagos, Nigeria, called me an ecosystem advocate. And ever since then, I sort of liked that name and I have decided to keep it. So, yes, I am also an ecosystem advocate. So, now let's talk about the early 2000s where all of this actually started. I was a child enthusiastic about computing and computers. I don't know how many people remember Windows XP, Windows 2000, and all of those early Windows operating systems, but this was where my journey started from. Nowadays, we look at these things and we're like, wow, this was the computer we were using then. But it's crazy because this is actually what lit that fire in me and made me fall in love with computers even more. I started by using computers. My dad brought a computer into the house, and my brothers were using the computers, and they also showed me how to use it. And that's where everything started from. I used things like Encarta Kids. I was on High Five and MySpace at the time. I was on social media. I was about what, 7 or 6 years old. And my brothers were obviously my only friends on social media. But I mean, I was there. I I was experiencing the internet and experiencing computers in very amazing ways. And I just sort of fell in love with it. As I fell in love with computers and I kept discovering different things, I sort of discovered Visual Basic as well. Beyond Visual Basic, I also discovered Corel Draw and Adobe PageMaker. So I used PageMaker and Corel Draw for designs just to design things, right? Obviously, if we look at those designs today, they are not beautiful, they are not pretty, and thankful I don't have any of all those designs anywhere to show. But I had some of all those designs, designing complimentary cards, designing flyers, and I also stumbled on Visual Basic as well, and I was doing a lot of math in code. This was how I started. This was what led me to the point where I started liking computers, and I decided that whatever career I was going to build was going to be in front of computers. So now let's fast forward into the early 2010s. This happened, for a while. And at some point, I was now at the crossroads. Do I study computer science or do I study mathematics? Because I was someone that loved math as a child. I don't actually know if my love for computer science followed my love for math, or my love for math and using programming to solve math equations followed my love for computers even more. At this point, it's more a chicken and egg situation for me, but I really loved computer science and mathematics. So I wanted to be one of those people that studied math and learned to code. And to be honest, I was already writing some code at that time. In secondary school, I was writing HTML so I could build a very basic website, even if it didn't look so great, but we got somewhere with it, right? So I was doing all of that, and I thought, okay, maybe now would be a good time to study math and learn to code, because the more I went in secondary school, the more I loved computers. I kept on really, really, really liking computers. So I wanted to study math and learn to code. But this is also why wise counsel is important, because I spoke to one of my mentors at the time who happened to be a family friend of ours, and he was studying, getting a master's, a computer science master's in MIT. And he told me that I should study computer science because there's math in computer science and there's computers in computer science, and it's the right synergy for those two things. So I went ahead and I did that. But then eventually I realized that studying computers wasn't as easy as playing with them. And I cried on so many nights. When it's time to do presentations at school, this is a picture of me in my final year in the university getting ready for my final project, my dissertation, my presentation. And I went through a lot, right? I cried on so many nights. But one thing that kept me going was the fact that I loved to learn. I There was a reason why I had started in the first place. And I wasn't just going to give up, at a particular time because it wasn't working for me in the way that I would have liked. And I had to force myself. I had to come to terms with the fact that life isn't necessarily always easy, and if you love to learn, you will learn. And I put in all of the work, and thankful to say today that I graduated in flying colors with a very fantastic grade. And I am a software engineer, right? So me forcing myself to be disciplined at that time really helped a lot. So now let's fast forward to the mid to late 2010s. I had gotten into the university, like I said, and I realized that, studying computers wasn't as easy as playing with them. And I was still a student, but now I was a student seeking work experience. I didn't just want to be in school, I also wanted to contribute somehow. I wanted to start gaining work experience before I left school. So I did my first internship. And this is a mandatory internship that you do as someone that studied computer science in my school, that in the school that I went to the University of Lagos. This is a mandatory internship that you do. You do it for 6 months while you are still in school. And I did that internship for 6 months, and there I met a lot of people, and there I also realized that finding jobs are hard. Finding jobs can be hard. So one thing that I did was that I started working as an intern in an advertising agency. I found that job, and that was like what I started doing. And when I was done with my 6 months internship, I didn't want to lose that job. I didn't want to lose that job because I realized that many people didn't have jobs. And if I lose this job, once I graduate, I might not be able to get another job. Fear made me hold on to that job. I don't know whether it's a good thing or not, but it is part of my story. Fear made me hold on to that job. And I look back at the decision today and I'm thankful that I did. But at the same time, I would still tell people not to make a lot of decisions based on fear. But that's like one of the little things that fear has pushed me to doing that has benefited me. So I stayed as a in my final year in the university. I had a job and I was a student. So I was a working student in my final year. And when I graduated from school, I became full time at the agency because I never left. So basically, I did an internship that was supposed to be for 6 months. I ended up doing it for 18 months because I spent 6 months there and the 12 months of my entire final year in the university. And, even prior to my internship, right, I was already working on personal projects. I was doing some freelance contracts. I was part of a few hackathons. I was building things. And when I finally got into the university and I finished and I started working at the agency full time, at some point I started thinking about my career post university. I wanted to get into more established tech companies because this agency was small and I liked them, I liked the people, but I wanted something more. And I think it's okay to aspire for more in your life all the time. I wanted something more, and that sort of led me to applications. I applied for different roles. I kept applying. I know on this slide it shows that I have over 10 applications, but I kid you not, it's over 50. But I put it as over 10 because I don't remember how many applications I did. I only remember that I had three offers at the end and two rejections, but many never called back. And I know that every day I was on LinkedIn. Every day I was on job portals applying to different jobs. It was a lot. It was like I did a lot of applications. Eventually I got three offers. I had two rejections and the rest never called back. When it was time to think about the offers and choose, I had a lot to think about which of the roles were in line with the kind of career that I wanted to build, which of the companies were more established, which of the companies were the most stable in terms of finances. You don't want to get into a company and a few months later it's either you've been laid off because they don't have money anymore, or your services are just not required, anymore. So there are a lot of things I had to think about because these three offers were offers from established, companies to a great extent. And I took the offer from Microsoft and I joined the company. I really remember the day I made this announcement on social media. Every single person that followed me, I was getting messages, I was getting congratulations. I made this announcement on LinkedIn and I made it on Twitter, and it blew up actually in my face. I joined the Microsoft's Cognition Africa team at the time. That's what we were called. And we were working on mixed reality things, the HoloLens, AR and VR. And it was just amazing because prior to that, I actually started having some thoughts. Because before the offers came, people were still ghosting me. I wasn't getting any responses. So I decided that I was going to get a master's degree, go abroad, get a master's degree, and then join Microsoft or Google when I got into the US. That was initially the goal. So being able to get hired by Microsoft from Lagos, Nigeria at that time was a big deal for me. And how I was able to successfully pull that off was, I mean, yes, I applied and I did the interviews and I got the job, but LinkedIn played a huge role in that. I was someone that at the time, because this was something one of my mentors actually told me, I was someone that at the time used my LinkedIn a lot to share about the things that I was learning, building, interested in, working on. I was very vocal about my growth on LinkedIn. I was also vocal about my growth as well on Twitter, but with a little bit of, play because I play on Twitter more. But on LinkedIn I'm super serious. But on LinkedIn I'm super serious. I also had a YouTube channel, so I was sharing there. And what happened was a recruiter reached out to me and told me that they've been watching my YouTube videos for a while and they like the kind of content that I share, and they would like me to interview with Microsoft because they're about to open up roles in Lagos, Nigeria, which was where I lived. And I thought that was pretty amazing because I was able to attract recruiters to myself just because I was sharing about my experiences on the internet. And then obviously that made me start sharing a lot more experiences. And, I got this role. A few months down the line, we launched our first product in private preview, which was Azure Object Anchors. And we kept building more products and launching more things. We also went ahead to launch Microsoft Mesh at some point and launching more stuff ever since then. In my time at Microsoft, I got promoted three times, and that was in the space of 4 years. So getting promoted three times in 4 years, it shows that there's impacts that you are making, you are adding value to the business, because they wouldn't just promote someone that wasn't doing anything. And I put my head down and I made sure that I proved myself. That's something that I know that I try to do anywhere that I go, anybody that I meet, to prove myself, to let them know that they're not wasting time, resources, money in giving me a shot. And even beyond software engineering now, there's a lot that I do. Like I said initially, this is a screenshot of me announcing my second book. I've written the first one. I've written the second one, which is currently available in different stores in different parts of the world. And I hope to write more in the future as well. And these books are books on engineering because I'm very focused on education in general, but because of my sector, developer education, I have also become a public speaker. I go all around the world to different parts of the world. I am speaking at this conference right now, even if it is virtual. I go to different parts of the world, all around the world, to speak about different things, to talk about my story, to talk about my career, different things. And that is because I made sure that I put in the work, I listened to advice, and I sold myself, and I keep selling myself any chance that I get. All these things have led to me also creating a non-profit that I have now called Nexa Skill, and it's helping people start and scale their tech careers, connecting them to opportunities, and making them giving them the opportunities to be software developers as well, data scientists, product designers, whatever opportunities that we find, either by connecting them to jobs or connecting them to projects that they can build while they look for jobs, right? I contribute to tech in different capacities, even beyond what I have shared in this presentation. I contribute code, and I'm helping to build more people that would write more code as well. I've said some things about my story, and I tried to keep it short, but before I end this presentation, I would like to share some lessons from all of this, and I'm going to call them the three N's. These three ends will plant seeds of growth for you in your career journey as you go. And my story has elements of these three things, in different capacities that I can share with you and help you. The first thing is that you should never give up. I failed many times. I got many rejections. There was a time when I couldn't even speak in public. I couldn't speak in public. I was so scared because of a prior experience that I had had, and that actually propelled me into public speaking because I had to force myself to be very comfortable with what I thought was scary. And never giving up brought me here today. I have used my failures and my setbacks as stepping stones for growth. They have motivated me to persist, to learn from my experiences, and to strive for greater experiences. I'm never afraid to fail. I'm never afraid to fail. I have never been afraid to fail. Obviously, it's always nice if you have a soft landing when you fail, and if you can possibly fail up. But I see failures typically as opportunities to learn and grow, because at the end of the day we are human. We're human, and we are not always going to get everything right from the jump. The next lesson I would say is that you should never stop growing. You should approach your work with a focus on adding value to your organization, to your colleagues, and to your community. You should consistently deliver excellence, contribute positively, and be aware that your efforts will be noticed by others, potentially leading to unforeseen career opportunities. Never stop growing. I'll tell you something that happened to me. Um, I'm someone that contributes to different initiatives wherever I find myself. I try to deliver excellence and things like that. And that has helped me grow because I put myself in those situations. I'm constantly adding value to people around me. I am constantly trying to write, trying to present, trying to volunteer. At work, I am trying to help, trying to mentor. And the funny thing is, because you're not perfect, right? You will also, by giving, put yourself in a position where you have to learn as well, because you can't teach what you don't know. If you think about it for a bit, if you ever have to write about a subject, let's say you had to write about algebra in mathematics, the amount of algebra you will know before you finish writing about algebra is not the same amount of algebra you would know when you're done. Because throughout that process of writing, you will do some research, you will read some things, you'd ask people some questions, you tell someone to actually look at what you've written and help review it so that it is correct. And that way you are learning. Growing is very, very, very important. Growing, taking feedback, iterating on that feedback, it's very, very, very important. I watched a video on Instagram yesterday, and in the video, one of the Instagram creators, there's something he said that stuck with me. that Instagram is 12 years old. It's going to be 13 sometime this year. And looking at the Instagram app, there have been 300 updates. What this means is that Instagram updates on an average of 25 iterations yearly. So Instagram does on average 25 updates every year. Obviously, there's sometimes it will do more each year and sometimes it will do less, but aggregating everything is 300. But on average, it's 25 per year. If Instagram, that is global and a lot of people are using, is still updating, growing, iterating, taking feedback from users, taking feedback from the way people are using the product or learnings from the product and making a better product, who are you and I not to grow in our careers as well, right? And we also need to share different things as we are growing. We need to let people know. We need to be the sounding boards for ourselves. We need to advocate for ourselves the most. Yes, there are some places that we might not be able to advocate for ourselves because we can't reach those places. But nobody does selling. Nobody sells yourself better than you. So you need to make sure that you sell yourself as well. Share all the things that you are doing. In, for example, at work, if someone sends you a message and says something like, "Oh, you were really helpful to me last week. Thank you so much." Tell them to put that in the official food feedback tool so your manager sees it too, right? Or you can take a screenshot and be like, or tell them to praise you physically. Tell them to praise you publicly in the Slack channel for people to see it and understand that you've been contributing to them. Sell yourself wherever necessary. Use LinkedIn to your advantage. LinkedIn was built for career connections, career growth, career enhancement. It is the professional social media. Use LinkedIn to grow because that can actually lead to unforeseen career opportunities for you. LinkedIn is how I have gotten all of the opportunities that I have gotten, whether it's, well, not all of, but most of the opportunities that I have gotten, because now I'm not talking jobs, I'm also talking about public speaking opportunities, travel opportunities to represent a tech company in a particular thing, mentorship opportunities, advisory opportunities. LinkedIn is where I've gotten a lot of my opportunities, most of it. Some have come from Twitter as well. But LinkedIn is a gold mine. So I would want you to tap into it as well. Speaking at Women on Stage Global Conference was something that came from LinkedIn because I got reached out to on LinkedIn about this. So make sure that you tap into LinkedIn as well. It is a professional gold mine. The last thing I want to talk about is that you should nurture relationships. People move around and people know people. When you work in a certain place, make sure that you are being at your best behavior. You are making an impact and you are building relationships with the people in that organization so that even when you leave, eventually you might want to get into another organization a couple of years down the line. And it's the people that you've worked with before that might be able to give you recommendations or that might be able to speak on your behalf and things like that. Because our career line is a small place, right? Tech isn't only in tech industries. Tech exists in every industry. So someone that might be working in a big tech company like Microsoft or Meta today might tomorrow go and do something that is tech related in consulting in a company like Deloitte. And that's already expanding your network beyond companies that you feel you are already used to. So you should build a network of relationships with experienced people because even beyond the recommendations that I've talked about, they can provide guidance, they can give you advice, they can share insights, they can offer mentorship. And mentorship and wise counsel is one of the things that I know has helped me a lot in my career. Before I make any big decision, I consult a lot of people that I consider my mentors. I consult them and I ask questions, and I like to get second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh. I like to get a lot of opinions. And then I can now apply what they've said into my own situation and make a well informed decision. So relationships are important because you can't do life alone. You can't do career alone. These connections are very invaluable to you in your career journey. Thank you so much for coming to this conference. Thank you so much for watching my talk and for listening. I hope that I've been able to use my story to teach you something or to inspire you or something. I hope that this has added value to your life in some way. I'm available on Twitter and on LinkedIn. This is also my website. So if there's any questions that you have, feel free to leave them there, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you once again and have an amazing day. Bye.